As I explained already, that we find Gemara is then referred to as a section of Halach and a section of Akodah. So, the essence of Gemara, as explained, based upon the brief Mishnayos, is to debate the deeper meaning, the sources, and also the practical application of the brief terms of Torah Sheba'al, which were learned by heart, later Ukamasi. Compiled the Mishnah, and then the Brises at the same time. Brise means that which is outside. And it's very interesting that there are two digests available from early Shoinim already. It's the Rif, who lived before the Rambam, who took out from the Gemara a lot of the discussions, concentrated almost exclusively upon halacha, but there's a lot of Agadata which he did not deal with, and he wrote the Rif. So the Rif, which you find at the back of a Shas Gemara, from Yitzchak al-Fasi, who lived a couple of generations before the Rambam, he took out the decisions. And then there's a similar type of digest of all Agadic passages, which you find in the Ein Yaakov. So the Ein Yaakov is a bit later, which is much later, is leaving all the Gemara as it is, it's just all the Agadic passages, which is very useful, because it contains a lot of the hashkaf of the Torah, and a lot about midas, and it's very popular, or became very popular in Yaakov for Balabatim, because that gave them an introduction to stories and ethical teachings. What we find, as I explained, what we find in the Rambam, that he didn't ignore the Akkadic passages, but just crystallized the major lessons to be learned from them, practical lessons. And also, as far as the halacha is concerned, he also dealt with the conclusions and not with the debates. But what we do find, especially to explain, as I explained the previous year, I think that's the significance of Kiddushin coming at the end of Seder Noshem. Seder Noshem deals with all the intricacies of all the dinim that apply in marriage, and we have in Kiddushin we have the positive result, which emphasizes the Kedusha of marriage, which is shown through also the laws of Chup and Kiddushin. And that's the reason why we have Mekadesh as Amo Yisrael, Al Yedei, not with regard to any of the mitzvahs. We don't say Hashem is Mekadesh, sanctified the people of Israel through Shabbos, or through Yom Tov, or through Yom Kippur, or through the laws of Kashrus. No, Mekadesh is Al Chup v'Kiddushin, because that's the ultimate Kedusha which people can have in life. So, the last few pages of Kiddushin, they deal with the main moral lessons to be learned about Kedusha. They explain also, Kedusha is shown, the real meaning of it, as the opposite of Kadesha. Kadesha is when people use their libido, their major instincts, for satisfying pleasure, pursuit for pleasure, which develops into lust, and it's well known that there's a close connection between the instinct for self-preservation and the instinct for procreation. They're closely related, known as Gaiva and Taiva, are the emotions that are produced through these two instincts. Instinct for the self and instinct for the pursuit of pleasure. So this is Gaiva and Taiva. But we have to, the Torah tells us not to suppress them, but to channel them, to use them as means to reach true Kedusha. Because for the non-Jews, Kedusha is either Kadesha, which is corrupting these, and allowing the pursuit for self and the pursuit for pleasure to take over every other aspect of our life, as a result of which one has a huge barrier between ourselves and Hashem, and also ourselves and our Tzelem Elokim. And also we don't go in the opposite direction, like some of the monks of the Far East and the monks amongst the Christians and the most holy member of the Catholic Church who don't get married. But for us it's the other way around. Kiddushin is Kedusha. Use the channel in the right direction. And then you use all your physical energies for the service of Hashem. So we find episodes here at the end of the Gemara, and you already spoke about the tests in this area which were given to Rabbi Meir. That's which you find almost 2/3 down on page 81a, Pei Aleph Omid Aleph. So the question arises, we know Rabbi Meir was a great tzaddik, and he was a mitlotzet, so he mocked the Yetzer Hara, especially the Yetzer Hara of lust. He says, why can't people control it? It's easy. He had a very good wife, Ruria, as we explained already last year. But for him it was easy. And also he was learning Torah all the time. If you learn Torah all the time, it doesn't bother you very much. So he mocked, the usual explanation for Forsham is, he mocked others. He said, these stupid people, why do they give in to lust? There's so many of them around. So Hashem specially sent him tests that he should have a strong stimulant to go and follow his lust. So some say it actually happened. Ben Ish Chai says he had it in a dream to show that it's something very difficult. And this is a principle mentioned other places in the Gemara. The greater a person is, the greater is he given obstacles in life. Because he shouldn't think that he's going to be free, because the whole purpose of life is to reach a level of saintliness. And that's why Hashem put the soul in the body. That's why He gave us Tzelem Elokim, and He gave us also earthly instincts. So he was taught a lesson. Somebody was taught a lesson in order to appreciate that he should be careful himself, never know. And secondly, not to mock at others, not to look down on others who have to go through a struggle. So first I want to hear if you've got any comments on this. It's the first Maisa that's brought here. Any comments or questions? So if not, we'll go on to the second Maisa, which is Rabbi Akiva. Similar situation. Except that Rabbi Akiva, we know his first 40 years, he was an Amoretz, knew very little, and probably had many struggles as well, but he gave in to Yetzer Hara. In fact, he says, there's a statement of his, he says, when I was an Amoretz, those 40 years, I hated the scholars very much indeed. I wouldn't tell me to repeat the expression he used, but he didn't like them at all. But the truth is, he was basically a very good character. But he was obviously raised in such an environment. He was an ignorant shepherd, and he was kindly, but he didn't like all these rabbis with their restrictions, come up with all sorts of laws, and I prefer to be a free individual. That's what he thought. Until he had this great romance with Rochel, the daughter of Kalba Savua, the rich heiress, who saw he was a good character. And as you know, largely through that marriage, that he reached the highest level, because she was willing to give up everything, because she saw in him enormous potential. So he went to yeshiva. At that time, apparently, there weren't yeshivas particularly for such individuals.
You went to Zimmerman.
So it says, you went to sit down and learn the Aleph Beis and learn to read together with little children in the Cheder. Why do you have to do that? Yeah. And the truth is, it's well known, 100 or 150 years ago, I know in Hungary and different places, there was a case in Yeshiva of the Chasam Sofer. Also, a person was completely ignorant. He came to the Yeshiva. And it happened to quite a few Yeshivas. And there were no special Yeshivas, people like that. So, sometimes, what they did, the great Gedolim, it's good to know that they said, this is a very big potential. He's a youngster who has no knowledge of anything. Then they go and get the higher Talmidim, they got them to give him a whole Seder to learn with them privately. And that's Rabbi Akiva, he found it difficult, so he sat down with children to learn. And of course he went from class to class until he reached the highest level, became by the greatest teacher in his time, and perhaps also one of the greatest teachers of all for later generations, is whatever we know about Rabbi Akiva. So he also reached the level, so it says here, well, that's what we're up to now. Let's have a look. So it says here that Rabbi Akiva have a mitlotzet be'ovre avera. Mitlotzet means he mocked at them from that, sort of getting laughter and a joke for himself. Why is it that people, he even reached that level? It's surprising, because he was also, perhaps all his life, he managed to keep his sexual purity, even with the first 40 years. So it appears, because if he would have had such tests in that area of lust taking over, it's also doubtful whether he would have had such energy, as in marriage also, to even attract a tzaddikas like his wife, who gave up everything. So probably, in that respect, he was good. But I've noted, it can also happen about Teshuvah, he forgets his past entirely, and begins to think, oh, I'm a very holy person now, and whatever's happened in the past, that's not me at all. And he can also go and laugh at other people. Some is big Bali Teshuvah, so strong, they don't appreciate the one who hasn't changed like they've changed. But always learn, we've got to appreciate the struggles other people go through. So it's also mitlotzet. So what happened with him? One of you should read the Gemara. Yom Echad, one day. What happened? Could someone else read it? No? Can you read it? Moshe, you can read it. Idmelei Sotan. The Sotan is the obstacle. Hu Yetzara. Why is he called Idmelei Sotan? Because it's like this. There's a Yetzara that comes from within. But the Sotan, when it's used in this Gemara, both words will be used in the whole Sugya, it means an obstacle that comes from outside. A stimulus that he didn't expect. There's some people, the Yetzirah is working inside them all the time, of Hiruri Aveiro, and it's hard at work, and tries even to work on us inside to go and do Averus. When you see an attractive person, attractive of the opposite sex, it starts working on you. That's the Yitzhara inside. An obstacle means, like a sudden obstacle, a huge stimulus. That he'd kept himself away from all the mass media that existed then, and perhaps also he wouldn't go into an area where attractive women would try to stimulate him. But all of a sudden, he was just going on a journey, and a most beautiful woman appeared to him on top of a palm tree. Yeah, of a palm tree. And she stimulated him. Why on the top of a palm tree? Why do you think? Because tzaddik katom yifro. Tzaddik grows like the palm tree. Yeah, that's the moshe given. We sing it, yeah? When Shabbos comes in. Because it's very productive, one of the most nourishing Peders which are praised as Peders Eretz Israel. So it goes up a palm tree to go and eat the sweet dates. And of course, there's a connection here also. The sweetest date is the Ale Ta'et, the fig trees or date trees. Connect also with the Chet Odom Rishon. In any case, he was a great tzaddik. But Kol HaGadol Mechavero Yitzro Gadol Mimeno. If his Yetzer is not greater, so greater, in parallel with his Sidkut, Hashem sends it as a stimulus to teach him a lesson. First also, you should know, a person might sometimes think, I don't really have a Yetzirah left, so really I'm a bit of a tzaddik. He subconsciously thinks he's a tzaddik. Yeah? Like the Kotzker Rebbe used to say that I love the Rosha, who knows the Rosha, more than the tzaddik who thinks he's a tzaddik. Why? Because the Rosha, who knows the Rosha, is clinging to the truth of himself. But the tzaddik who thinks he's a tzaddik, he's clinging to falsehood. But there's no one who's a complete tzaddik, 100%. He's also got his blind spots and his weak spots. And also because then he's holier than thou. He has an attitude, I'm a tzaddik. I've overcome the Yetzirah. So Hashem says, you're still living in this world with a body. So it can change. And especially if you think you're the master, I'll show you, you've still got struggle. Not so simple. And it might come. So he was reaching the heights, climbing this tree, and then there was the attractive woman. So what did he do? When he saw this, he was tempted to sin. So he kept on going further up near her. But when he came halfway up to the dates in the palm, Shavkei, all of a sudden, some say the woman disappeared. Or some say, especially Ben Ish Chai says, the image, the stimulus disappeared. He felt, oh, this is not for me, it's stupid of me. But some say she is Oma. And the Sultan, he recognized it was the Sultan. First he saw the attractive woman, and then he recognized, oh, this is the Sultan. And the Sultan says, oh, if they were not declared up in the judgment of heaven, don't attack Rabbi Akiva too much because of his Torah also. His Torah is worth such a lot, and therefore don't cause him to fall to the bottom. He said, but if you wouldn't have this great gift of Torah, I would have, some say I would have divided your blood, your flesh and blood, into two. into two inward parts. The idea is, that's one explanation. The two inward parts means I would have separated your body from your soul. You would have dropped, you would have become, as it were, a worthless individual. You would have been reduced, you would have been put to shame, you would have been known to be, or in the Talmud it's called great teacher, who's been caught in the act of having intercourse with a loose woman. And that would have destroyed all your Torah, because they would have ostracized you. They said, you can't be the teacher anymore, finished. And your wife would have left you. What they were doing a thing like that. Only done your level, but still you reach such a high level of Torah, and therefore I've leaving you alone. That's one explanation. The other explanation, I would have made your value, domim, so far you're honored by everybody. And he said, the greatest teacher of Israel. But I would have made your value like just two little coins that the beggar carries in his tin to make a bit of noise to collect money. You would become the lowest outcast. Besides, you would go around everywhere. In order to have a bit of bread, you'd have to go collecting like a stupid person, unfortunately, who's at the end of his life, more or less. You've got to collect a few coins to be able to survive. So this is the episode of Rabbi Akiva. Now, what can we learn from this? As follows. I think I've paraphrased for you the Maral, what he says on these two episodes. A bit similar. He said there's a bit of a difference, Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Akiva, but still the same principle. Said like this, that the concept by Rabbi Meir, he wanted to cross the waters in order to reach the harlot on the other side. And there was no ferry. So he went over on a very weak plank, holding onto the rope. It was about even maybe to fall into the river. So he said like this, there's a principle, Lo b'shamayim hi v'lo layom. It says in the Chumash, the power of Teshuvah and the power of Torah is not in heavens and not across the waters of the oceans. Corresponding to these two, so the Satan, which is the Eitzara, is symbolized by the woman who stands on the other side of this stormy river. And despite the fact that she's on the other side and is kept away, nevertheless, it's so strong that it brings a person to cross oceans in order to fulfill his sinful desires. That was how it appeared, the Satan appeared to Rabbi Meir. How it appeared to Rabbi Akiva? Like a woman on top, a beautiful woman on top of the palm tree. And it was so high that this palm tree went right up into the heavens. And though, he says, the heavens is entirely separate from the human being, nevertheless, when the Eitzara gets hold of a person, he wants to even go right up to the heavens to reach it. So he says like this, the tzaddik is the one who clings to Hashem. He's got power to cling right up to the heavens. Therefore, normally, evil won't come to him. Lo b'shamayim hi. You say, the evil won't come to the tzaddik. And if it would, he would destroy himself. But like this, if the evil would come to him, the evil would destroy the tzaddik. Because it says, in the parallel Gemara where it discusses the end of Sukkah, it says, the Yetzer Hara wants to kill the human being. In the sense, wants to remove his divine image entirely. The Yetzer Hara is very strong and can transform the tzaddik to become one that loses entirely his divine image. Because it says there in the Gemara, Yetzer Hara mitchadesh badam uvakish hamito. The Yetzer Hara comes almost daily to the person and wants to kill him, wants to kill his good self and make him lose the essence of his life. If HaKadosh wouldn't help him, he wouldn't be able to overcome him. As it said, Tzofer Asher LaTzadik Vakesh Hamito. The saint, he is being ambushed by the wicked person, and the wicked person wants to destroy him. The wicked person is the Satan, the Yetzer Hara, U'Malach HaMavet. So this is a deeper aspect of these two episodes. One is to bridge the waters, and the other is bridge. But the way others explain it, explained a bit before, that there's two aspects to Torah. There's the waters of Torah, which are constantly inspiring, and that was the matter that saved Rabbi Meir. And there's the attempt to reach closest to Hashem through saintliness. That's like the Tzaddik Yifrach of Rabbi Akiva. So his attempt to reach that high level, we were going to, that was able to stop the Sultan to get hold of him. Any questions on this? The Mashov makes a comment like this. We say, Kol HaGadol mechavero yitzur gadol mimeno. It's true. But, on the one hand, there is such a temptation, potentially, but Torah magno matzla. Torah protects from the sin. So a person is immersed in Torah, like were Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Meir, that saved them. But it also brought them to the level that it should be what's the edge through which the Yetzer Hara comes in to be mitl sets. And let's apply this to the situation today of what happens with Bnei Yeshiva and Avrichim, and even it can happen also to Rosh Yeshivas. A person becomes so immersed in learning and doing mitzvahs that he looks down on those who are struggling. And we say to ourselves, we're very happy, we have a fantastic spiritual life, but we pity all those people who are not there. Instead of that, we should recognize we're all in the same boat. Don't think you're different. The Yetzer Hara gets hold of everybody in different ways. He gets hold of the Talmidei Chachamim because they think we're clever and better than everybody else. So therefore we've got to train ourselves to feel that if the others are weaker, it's probably because we're not good enough. We don't set a good enough example. They also look at us. How today do the non-religious look at many of the religious, even talk about, they say, you're all holier than thou. You think you're much better than we are. Yeah? And we think, therefore we examine, we exaggerate your faults. It's true. After all, you claim you're this, that, and the other. So why do you, this is often say, why do you do help us more? In fact, many Chosim B'tshuva have come out with protests. They say, why does it take you so long, you learned people, to come to my door and help me? Just experience that, why have you taken so long? You've been in Eretz Yisrael for 20, 30 years, and you don't know that all these kibbutzim, there are so many people, they're not going to come to you because they think, oh, you're an exclusive society. We're even embarrassed to go into your synagogues. We don't, because I know I once tried to go in a synagogue. Of course, I came without the kippah. I came just with my t-shirt and my jeans, and people just looked at me like that. Nobody came to welcome me. Nobody said to me, "Who are you?" Nobody greeted me. So that's the first and last time, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going into any of these synagogues. So that's it. So don't be mitlotzetz. Don't think you can make leitzonos about the non-religious. That's our lesson.
With regards to Rabbi Akiva, he didn't have this challenge, so he was able to focus on, before he was immersed in Torah, he was able to excel in his profession, raising animals, and he was, the best at doing that. And then he transferred that talent and that work ethic and his strength into, immersing himself in Torah. But while he was doing that, he didn't have that challenge. He wasn't sitting in, the base medrash or going to work and, halfway through the day, he's not thinking about girls. He was able to focus. So he didn't have that specific challenge. But let's say he did have that challenge, then what are some strategies? What could he have done? And how did he rise so high without that specific challenge?
Well,
because if someone,
I suppose he probably had the challenge. Look, a person reached the age of 40, he certainly has the challenge of the Yetzer Hara, a normal person, of the Yetzer Hara as far as girls are concerned. Must have had it, but he was able to control it. It was easier for him to control than a person who lives in a busy town, where the loose women go around. That's correct. And then he had the great zechut of his wife who made it. That was probably the bond for their great success. We know that he claimed his wife was the one who was responsible for all his Torah. I think that's what's closely connected with this concept. So therefore his wife, she helped him also. She was extremely beautiful, and she was a very attractive personality, and she was the one who gave him constant encouragement in the first difficult years, where they had nothing, they had to just sleep on straw, and it was very, very difficult, but she sent him, "You go and study." She made him study Torah, because she knew Torah was the source of growth for the people of Israel. And she saw in him also potential to become a great Talmid Chacham. In some extent, the greatest of all of his time. The sages say, even the hidden aspects, he reached the highest level. He went into powders of the deepest secrets of the Torah and came out without any weaknesses, and he was the great teacher of his time. So now let's go to the next story. Can you read it in the Gemara?
Did they have any children, Rabbi Akiva? Did he have any
Yes.
children? He said no.
Yes, they have children.
From where?
From Flimo. Now we come into Flimo. Flimo. Now what did you have? Rogel?
Mitzara?
Have Rogel?
Shivaki?
Can you say Moshe? Flimo?
Flimo?
Can you read it? Read the Gemara.
I don't have the Gemara.
Well, what chapter? Where's your Gemara?
Can you show me where it
Is
is?
the Gemara here? Another Gemara? Flimo? Have Rogel Meima Paul Yuma? every day he said, every day, he had a different approach.
Yeah.
He felt every day, the Yetzer Hara wants to get hold of me. So he said that I'm shooting arrows into your eye. That means he encouraged himself in the morning, like he was saying, we ask Hashem, please help us, we want, but it says, I'm shooting my arrows, but his phrase was, I'm shooting my arrows into your eyes, to leave me alone. Now, the Sultan came. So the Sultan came to attack him. Question is, he did the right thing. In fact, the Gemara brings in Sukkah that one of the Tanoim, when he shook the lulav, he also used the same phrase. The lulav is my arrow in the eyes of the evil inclination. Because with the lulav I give thanks to Hashem and I fulfill his mitzvahs. So I'm pushing the eyes, because the eyes are the source of sin. Some commentators explain that. And therefore, he battled the sinful inclination, which he assumed comes to him every day, or in some hidden way. So I'm shooting arrows against you. I'm resisting, I'm telling myself that I'm saying no to all temptations. So the commentators answer kasha on this, because it says that Rav Acha bar Yaakov, when he shook the lulav, he said, "Dein gira beina zitna." This is arrows in the eyes of the Sultan. So what do we find here in our Gemara? The Sultan got annoyed, as it were. The Sultan said, "Oh, you want to attack me? So if you attack me, I'm going to attack you back. I'm going to show you I'm stronger than you are. You want to have a battle with me? I'll win." That was how Sultan sent me to go and fight against you, because you're provoking me. So the question is, by Rav Acha bar Yaakov it helped, and by Flimo it didn't help, as we'll soon see. So how do you answer that question? So the answer like this. If you're doing a mitzvah, you can say it. You can say it with a mitzvah. Because when you do it with a mitzvah, you're bringing Hashem into it. I'm fulfilling this mitzvah of lulav to spread my thanksgiving to Hashem for all the blessings given us in all 6 directions, which is the concept of taking the 4 species. I'm dedicating myself in joy. So that it's a mitzvah, then you can do it. But he did it. He says, look, there's the Yetzer Hara, which exists inside me. In other words, he was implying that he has also sinful thoughts, which come through the eyes, through what I've seen or what I imagine. And I imagine the pleasures that come from lust. So therefore I'm throwing arrows in the eyes. So he's provoking, but without the mitzvah. So he said, Rav Acha said this only the time of mitzvah, but Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Akiva and Flimo, they used to say it every day. They were every day mitlotzet. And he even went further. Every day he was provoking the evil inclination. So Rav Yashiv answers the kasha. He says what he did was similar with Shem Shamayim, met entirely Shem Shemayim. But he was, in his instance, it wasn't so much Shem Shemayim. And he cursed him in his eye, the eye of the Satan, because the eye is the source that brings stimulation. We say the Satan is filled with eyes. So what happened? So his wife heard him saying this, had a good wife, and his wife heard him saying this, day by day. It's the same. So what happened further? Can you say, Moshe, go on?
Which was over here?
Oh, Slicha, we haven't got there yet. Anyway, you're right, we haven't got there yet. Well, Flima v'rogel l'meima kol yom mekira bein l'sot. Yom echad, one day. Which day was it? Erev Yom Kippur. It was Erev Yom Kippur, and
This was in Brachos, no? This story.
yes.
He came disguised as a poor person to his daughter.
Well, you go and say the Gemara, then have Id Melekan here. He looked like a pauper, a poor man. Also, he came, Korah Bovo, and he called out from the door on Erev Yom Kippur. So someone came to the door, and he was not a very clean, poor beggar, and they brought him bread to eat. They gave him bread at the door. Omele Yuma Kihuidna. On another day I would be happy to even get bread from you. But on this day, everybody on Erev Yom Kippur has good food, plenty of it. And they sit inside. Let me come in. You give me at the door. Everyone's invited in to join in the good meals you're having, and I got to stay outside. All right, so they brought him inside, and they let him be inside, and they gave him food there. They gave him bread and other food, but they didn't invite him to sit at the table. Said, "Omale, Yuma Keidna, a day like today, Erev Yom Kippur, everyone sits at the table to eat. I should be let by myself. That's how you treat me. Let me sit at the table." As you, as therefore went, brought a chair, he sat at the table, atako. But he sat down. That mole nafche shchin v'kim. When he sat down near the family, they all noticed, he's filled with skin disease and with dirt and with all the phlegms, the chivale, and they all this phlegm on him. He had wounds, and it was mamash mis. It was very, very terrible to see. And then he did things which made the others sick. The way he was eating at the table. Omalei, so they said, so Flimo said to him, you know, don't go and do these unpleasant things. I suppose maybe starting to open his wounds or whatever. Say, sit down properly, try and behave properly and cover over your dirt. Then Omalei said, please give me some wine to drink. You're drinking wine, why shouldn't I have some? So they gave him a cup of wine, he poured it out, and what did he do? He made himself sick, and the sickness he put into the cup of wine. So so they shouted at him, what are you doing? Rashi says, he put the phlegm that came out from his, he put into the wine. So it was disgusting. They showed him. So then he made out as though he had a stroke No Bechako, he made himself like immobile more or less.
Okay.
He gasped like a person in his last gasping before he dies. And he made out that he's dead. Then they heard, all people in the house, in the area were saying that Flimo killed the person. And Flimo was living in a place, if that rumor gets around, in his country where he was, area, the police would be informed and they would go and give him a death sentence.
Okay.
Because he killed him. Look, he's found in his dining room, dead. So what did Flimo do? He fled and hid himself in the toilet. Yeah, because he was afraid the police were going to come to arrest him. The government is sending the police to kill him. So when he went to the toilet, whom did he see there? He saw this poor man. This poor man was then also there, hiding. So when he saw him, and this poor man saw that Flimo was terrified, he thought shortly the police are going to come. Then he revealed himself. He said, I'm the Sultan. I've come to challenge you. Because you go and say, every day you say you want to get rid of me. Every day you threaten me and say, arrows in your eyes, Sultan. So I let you know who's stronger. So I'm not bringing you in a situation where you're about to be killed because you provoked me. And the Sultan says to him, my time on the floor, why do you use such an expression? Gira beina. Why do you say arrows in your eyes, Sultan? So Flimo says, you're the Sultan, come to kill me. What should I say? I want to get rid of you. In other words, Flimo, apparently, he himself felt, it sometimes happens, a person who's learning hard, maybe even teaching Torah, but he goes to a great saint, Mashgiach or something, I have a problem. My problem is that I constantly have lustful thoughts. Okay, they come from my background, whatever, but in any case, they don't leave me. Although I'm learning and teaching, but I continue to have these thoughts. What should I do? Maybe Flimo wasn't married, but even not to married people. Can happen. But what can I do about it? So that's why every day I say to myself, you get away from me. So what should I say? I should say, Niga be'besoten. You could say like it says in the Pasuk. We say it in Kriyat Shema Lamita. Kriyat Shema has got a lot to do with Pasukim, how to get rid of the Yetzirah. Yiga b'cho Hashem asatan. You've got to always ask from Hashem. Don't think you can do it. You say to Hashem, help me. Pray to Hashem to help you, and you'll be able to get rid of it. Now the truth is that this is a situation that we sometimes find. That's why my general advice, I'll tell you where we find this. I found it in my experience in yeshiva, that you get Bali Teshuvah, who've had unfortunately an early life, adolescence, of constant thinking about the opposite sex and constant lustful thoughts. Sometimes combined also with lustful behavior, and they can't get rid of it, especially then afterwards, today with the mass media, so they're addicted almost to pornography. And then they become, what do they say? So they decide to become frum. And some of them decide to do it. So we go to the mikveh every day. And every day they keep on saying, I've got to get rid of these thoughts. They go to mikveh. And then they read all Sforim, how you've got to get, how Shemiras Habris, and you read all those Sforim. And half of their inner imagination is constantly concerned with getting rid of evil thoughts. So I'll tell you what I've often advised them. It sometimes even drives them with sugar. And this is when people who have very little background of Torah, and then they start, some of them even do a tikkun at night. They wait till midnight to say the tefillahs. They get up in the morning with the nets, and they go to the mikveh at least once a day, and sometimes more. And they're constantly involved inside. On the outside, they'll put on. It's already 1 o'clock, almost. So I tell you, and I generally advise them. What you have to do is throw yourself into learning and forget about the Yetzer Hara. Forget about him. Get your imagination filled with solid learning which you enjoy. That's what's very important. But it's got to be solid Torah learning. And some enjoy Agadah, some enjoy Musa, some enjoy Chum. Whatever it is, fill your mind with thought. And this is what Chazal says. The Rambam says, Ein machshevet hazanut, ein hamoa panui machshevet zut ela al de chokhmas haTorah. You've got to get, it's used for chokhmas haTorah. If you fill your mind with the wisdom of the Torah, get inspired by it, and let that fill your imagination, and go over it again, and forget about Hirur Avira. Because that's not. But if you try to fight it all the time, by all these different methods, which some Hasidim say you should fight in different ways. You go to the mikveh, but it depends for who. For people, like many people today, they get lost because of this. And that's why, I'll tell you just briefly, in the yeshiva, so when I started yeshiva, I was open to any chassid, any chassid, people, for beginners. I had a lot of beginners. Yeah? And many of them were attracted by things like Braslav and others. And I used to take them also. And on the whole it was good. But then one or two of the recent Braslavers, they almost went crazy. And you had to have that of psychological and psychiatric treatment. And so when they reached that level, I was said, well, you can't stay here, and you've got to forget about this. And then Rav Wolber, who was my partner in the yeshiva, one of the greatest Balei Musa of recent times. So he advised me, don't take Braslavers. I took Braslavers, because some of the Braslavers that I saw, they reached a high level. But it's not for everybody. You've got to know how to deal with it. Because I had in my yeshiva one or two Braslavers who didn't follow this way of Braslav at all. They didn't put any of their clothes. They generally didn't come with a jacket even. One of the biggest teachers of Braslav, he never wore a hat or jacket. That's how he went around. And he didn't insist they should have discourage some tikkun chatzos and tikkun go into the nets and things like that. And didn't encourage them to go and scream in the woods, things like that. So this was fine. They just taught that they took out certain points of Braslav which kept them in check. But some of them went too far. So this Likutei Moharan did a lot of deep teachings, but since the Rebbe isn't there to give them guidance, so therefore people make different interpretations of it, what suits them. But still, it's a big koyach. But it depends for whom and when. And that applies to everything, in fact, applies to who and when. Sometimes it had nothing to do with that, just sometimes there were other things involved, not Dafka Braslav. But we have to know, this is what this Gemara deals with. Every day he said, I've got to fight the Yetzer Hara. Forget about the fight, and instead, throw yourself into learning. And Torah itself, it says, the Rambam says it, and the Gemara also says, if this manuvel, this Satan, comes into imagination, drag him into the Beis HaMedrash, and Beis HaMedrash try and feel the joy of learning. So it's very important you should enjoy what you're learning. Okay. So this is, I think, the deep lesson to learn from this Maisa of Flimo.
Should Flimo have left him outside rather?
Pardon?
Should Flimo have left him outside in the beginning?
And it's a very interesting.
That's it. Leave him. Don't bring him in your house at all. Your house is filled with Torah, so don't let him come in. You know.
And it's a very interesting point, like you said. This the Buddha in Iran.
That's a good. Yeah.
Like these teachings from these rabbis, from 200-300 years ago, they may be amazing and things like that, but you have nobody to consult with.
Well, they say they've got different consultants, and some of the consultants are very good.
Yeah.
They're good. Some of the consultants will even tell you that.